Hello, in this video we're looking at issue 22 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine, finally getting to build our Skitarii and paint them up and use them in our games. Hello, I'm Mike and this is Will. We are the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
We're bringing you issue 22 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine today. In this issue we got the remaining sprue and bases for the Skitarii Rangers from the previous issue, so we can actually put them all together and paint them and use them now. And as always, if you want to see them in action, you can look at the timecode in the description or find the start of the game using the chapter bars. So looking through the issue now, first up with some background on the Explorator fleet. So these are space forces of the Adeptus Mechanicus that go out and search the galaxy for archaeotech. And obviously they need to be heavily armed because quite a lot of that technology ends up being in alien space or just generally hostile. And it gives you some famous ones here, one from Lucius, one from Mars, one from Graia. So any of you fans of the Space Marine game, that's the Forge Rod in that. And another one down here seems to go about recording intelligent species. There is background on the Sautek dynasty. So this is another of the Necron dynasties, actually the one that the Necrons in this series are painted as. And they're led by Imhotep the Stormlord, who doesn't seem too keen to follow Zarek the Silent King. And it notes that the Sautek are the most expansionist and aggressive of the Necron dynasties, so obviously Imhotep wants to try to usurp him. Then we have part 2 of the Crimson Doom story. So this was the Mechanicus facing off against the Necrons of the Novolk dynasty. Having a bit more success this time, as the Tech Priest is sending forth some of the more heavy Mechanicus things like the Cataphrone Destroyers and the battle robots as well. Now we have the painting guide for the Skitarii. So they actually start off with a silver base because there's a fair amount of mechanical parts, and then corn red for the robes. I would actually suggest keeping them off the bases to make painting the inside of the robes easier. If they're going to paint them in the Mars colour scheme that you see on the front of the issue, they actually have cream on the inside of the robe and it'd be easy to paint without that. And using some blue for the plasma and arc weapons. Then just going over some brass areas, so there's the decorative parts on the rifles are brass, but then you can also go through and just paint random plates and parts brass, just so they're not just completely uniform. Then we're actually going over the whole model, all the areas with a shade, so it will darken it down into all the recesses that we've used before. And then going over again with the corn red just to lighten up the robe and going in all the creases and things. And then there's a few black bits, and then doing the wax on the purity seal there with Screamer Pink. And also this Mechanicus symbol they have on their chest, and also the backpack for the arc rifle has it as well. So the left half of the cog is white and the right half of the skull is white because it's the Mechanicus symbol. And there you can see the completed models. So that's it for the little overview, and as you can see on the next page we can learn how to use them.
And now, before we can get into our game, we have the datasheet for our new Skitarii Rangers, as you might expect. These are our first non-Space Marine unit for the Imperium, and their profile is quite different to a Space Marine because, although heavily augmented, they are still only human in abilities. So they do have a 6-inch move, they have a weapon skill of only 4+, a ballistic skill of 3+, they're only strength and toughness 3, so not as tough as a Space Marine, and they only have 1 wound. They have 1 attack, and I mentioned an LD characteristic, that means leadership, that is 6 for them, because that will be relevant in this scenario, and their save is 4+, and the Alpha, which is their squad leader, is exactly the same, but he has 2 attacks and a leadership of 7 instead. Then it lists what weapons the squad has, and although in the full rules a squad would have a number of different options for weapons, in this they're just giving us the weapons that they've told us to make in the build guide, so it assumes that the squad is armed as such. So most of the Rangers have galvanic rifles, which are a heavy 2 weapon with a 30-inch range. We'll learn what heavy weapons mean in a minute, with a strength 4, AP -1 and 1 damage. The Alpha instead has a phosphor blast pistol, the D3 shot pistol weapon with a 12-inch range, strength 5, AP -1 and 1 damage. Also a blast weapon, and targets don't receive the benefit of dense cover, which we don't know rules for that yet, but that will be relevant later. He also has an arc maul, which is a melee weapon, which gives him +3 strength, and it has a -2 AP. It's also slightly better against vehicle units, but the Necrons don't have any of those yet, so we won't worry about that for now. And the 3 special weapons the squad has are the arc rifle, which is a rapid fire weapon with strength 6, AP -2 and D3 damage. That's also better against vehicles. The plasma caliber, which has 2 firing modes, standard or supercharge. It's the same as the Space Marine plasma pistols, except it's assault 2 with a 30-inch range, effectively. And the transuranic arquebus, the big sniper rifle, which is a heavy weapon with a mighty 60-inch range, strength 7, AP -2 and D3 damage. It does a mortal wound if you roll a modified 6 to wound, and you can ignore the lookout rule when shooting it, and there'll be a tutorial for that over the page. One of the models also has an enhanced data tether. The unit gains the data tether keyword, which isn't relevant at the moment, and you add 1 to the leadership of all the models in the unit. They have a 6+ invulnerable save, doctriner imperatives we don't know about yet, and as rangers, specifically distinct from other types of Skitarii, they get to make a normal move up to 3 inches at the start of the first battle round. Not sure if we actually learned about what a battle round is. That's basically the combined turn of both players. That is technically before the first turn begins as well, which will apply to heavy weapons, as we'll see in a moment, and you can't end that within 9 inches of enemy models, and they have a number of keywords that don't interact with any rules that we have yet. On the back we have a tutorial for the Transuranic Arquebus and the fact it can ignore the lookout sir, so in this example that means he can shoot the Technomancer even though the Technomancer would normally not be a viable target due to lookout sir. And also a little bit about plasma weapons and using the supercharge mode. As a reminder, if you roll a 1 to hit, then the bearer is killed. Now we'll be on to our mission, halt the invaders. So the Necron legions have broken through the defences on the moon of Tsiphos and have landed on the surface, and the Skitarii Rangers are rushing to hold the line. We have our new battle map, but on the main side of it in this game, which we haven't seen yet, we have the 10 Skitarii Rangers facing off against 10 Necron warriors, and each side has a 3-inch deployment zone from the short edges. And we have new rules for the morale phase, which is why we need the leadership characteristic now. The morale phase comes effectively right at the end of the turn, and it represents the nerve of troops under fire or when taking damage, to see whether they hold position or whether they decide to retreat or run away. So, starting with the player whose turn it is, it alternates selecting units that have had models destroyed in this turn. Those units have to take a morale test. To do that, you roll a d6 and add the number of models that were destroyed in that turn. As a reminder, Necron models that have reanimated don't count towards that. If it's equal to or lower than the highest leadership characteristic in the unit, the test is passed. Or if you're on an unmodified one, that's also a success. Otherwise it's failed and a model flees, and then you must take combat attrition tests. That means you roll a d6 for every remaining model in the unit, subtracting 1 from the result if less than half of the models are still alive, and for each 1 you roll, or 2 or 1 if you're below half strength, an additional model will run away. That might sound complicated, but it's pretty straightforward in practice. We might see it in the game coming up. And there's also an example here of that happening. It also mentions that the Ranger Alpha has a higher leadership, and the data tether also gives them a higher leadership for the unit. And then once all of that's been done, you also have to take unit coherency checks. So every unit on the battlefield that is out of unit coherency, you have to remove models from it until only a single group of models remain that are in coherency. And finally we're on to our game playthrough. So the Adeptus Mechanicus forces, the Skitarii, get to go first. See, the list of phases here now includes the morale phase at the end. They've also put the psychic phase in the proper position, in the wrong place before, but it doesn't matter for this game. There's also a bit about heavy weapons here, which we haven't had any of before. It's quite simple that if the unit with a heavy weapon has the infantry keyword, then if it moved this turn it has to subtract 1 from hit rolls. As far as we know, this doesn't affect the ranger's extra move at the beginning of the first battle round, because that technically happens before the start of the turn, and so they haven't moved in the turn if they just make that move. And it also shows an example of the morale phase in action here, but these Necrons, having only lost 2 models and having a leadership of 10, they can't possibly fail their morale test. Technically it does still happen, but we probably won't roll morale tests that have no chance of failure. And then we're on to the Necron turn, where they get to do all the same things, and the Skitarii have to take a morale test, but in this case 1 model does run away, and then they also fail a combat attrition test, and another one does. And we continue with the Adeptus Mechanicus turn, and so on until one side has no models left, and the other side then is the winner. So we'll get the board set up and the models arrayed, and then we'll get straight to the game. Well, here we are, and we'll just take a moment to look at the new board on the side that we'll be using for most of the next 20 issues, most likely, with the grey ruined city theme, and you can see the printed terrain there that gives you a hint of what is to come, but none of that's relevant in this game. On the left-hand side, we've got the Skitarii Rangers deployed within 3 inches of their board edge, although actually about as far back as they can get because they have the range advantage, and the Necrons over on the right-hand edge. The Adeptus Mechanicus Skitarii get the first turn, to be on to Adeptus Mechanicus turn 1. But actually, before the first turn begins, the Adeptus Mechanicus have the choice to make a free 3-inch move.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that with my Rangers, because they're all in range except for the Alpha, and I don't want to get closer to the Necrons, because that just makes it easier for them to bring the Gauss Reapers into range.
So then we're on to the Adeptus Mechanicus turn proper and the actual movement phase.
Yeah, I'm not going to move again, because I'm all still in range, and I'm just going to shoot all my guns at the Necron warriors. I'll start with the galvanic rifles. Yep, 6 galvanic rifles in the unit, so we've got 12 shots hitting on 3s. Getting 7.
And although these are a heavy weapon, they haven't moved, so they don't suffer the -1 to hit.
And wounding on 4s. Ooh, getting 5. AP -1.
So we've got 5 plus saves. which I've made 3 of. So 2 Necrons down so far. We don't do reanimation yet because the Skitarii still have a lot more guns.
I'll do the plasma caliber. I should technically say at the beginning when I declare shooting that I'm not going to supercharge it, but I'm not going to supercharge it. They would wound on 2s, but I don't want to blow up. So 2 shots hitting on 3s. Yeah, good job I didn't supercharge. Wounds on a 3. That's AP -3, so that's another dead Necron.
We're up to 3 so far.
The Arquebus hitting on a 3, misses. And the arc rifle hitting on a 3 misses as well.
Yeah, the arc rifle's a rapid fire weapon, but it's not within 15 inches, which is half its range. It's 1 shot.
That's 3 Necrons.
So at least once in the video I'll do this properly and take models away before rolling reanimation. I'm actually going to take away the Gauss Reapers at the front because they've got such a short range that the Gauss Flayers might be better in this mission. So I'll take 3 away, but then I will get to roll to reanimate. So 3 reanimation rolls on 5+.
Rerolling 1s.
Re-rolling 1s, which is fortunate because there's a triple 1 there. Okay, made 1 out of that, so 1 stands back up. And he's going to stand up over here. This is an example of the sort of thing you can do with reanimation protocols. He's in coherency with 2 models in his unit still, within 2 inches of those 2 at the front. Then we'll be on to the morale phase, where the Necron warriors do have to take a morale test because they did lose models. I will roll it just to show what happens, even though they can't actually fail. So they lost 2 models, not counting the one who stood back up again. I roll a d6 and add that number. I got 5, so that's 7, which is less than or equal to their leadership of 10, so they don't lose any models running away. Because they have a leadership of 10, I couldn't actually fail that, but just to show you how it works. And also in the morale phase, check coherency to make sure I don't have to remove any extra models, and they are indeed in coherency. But that's the end of the Adeptus Mechanicus turn, on to the Necron turn. So the Necron warriors have moved up 5 inches. I considered advancing to see if I can get the Gauss Flayers in range, but actually I need a good roll to get any shooting out of them at all, and I wouldn't be able to shoot with the Flayers. So we'll only have the 5 Gauss Flayers in range. They're within 24 inches, so they get 1 shot, because they're not within 12. So we've got 5 shots hitting on 3s. 3 hits. And these wound on 3s because Skitarii are toughness 3. Oh, nothing at all. So that's it. They don't need to make a morale test, because they didn't lose any model, and that's the end of the Necron turn. Back to the Adeptus Mechanicus.
Yeah, once again I'm not going to move because I don't want the penalty for shooting my rifles. So same with the galvanic rifles, we've got 12 shots hitting on 3s. Getting 9 this time. And wounding on 4s. Getting 6, looks like.
6 5-foot saves. Made 3. So 3 dead so far.
And I've got the plasma caliber. Once again I'm not supercharging, hitting on 3s. 1 hit, wounds on a 3. That's 4 dead Necrons so far.
Yeah, no save against that.
The arc rifle 1 shot hits, wounds on a 3, strength 6. It does. It's AP -2.
So I need a 6 to save this. Oh, I made it.
Oh, and then the Arquebus misses again.
So 4 die, so I'll take away these 2 and I'll take away this one here and this one. So remaining in coherency, but I'm hoping to do the same trick as last turn and advance further forward. So 5s rerolling 1s. Oh, made 2. And they come back like that with 1 Gauss Reaper right out the front. Remaining within coherency. And having lost only 2, once again I can't fail a morale test, so I won't roll it this time. They automatically pass effectively, and then we'll be on to the Necron turn again. Once again the warriors have moved up, and this time we get the 2 front Gauss Reapers in range, and the 3 Gauss Flayers are within range but not to shoot twice. So 2 Gauss Reapers, 4 shots hitting on 3s. Getting 3. And wounding on 3s, strength 5. Oh, only 1 wound with an AP -2.
6+ invulnerable save. Nope, so that's 1 dead Skitarii.
And then 3 shots with Gauss Flayers on 3s. 1 hit. Wounds on 3. That's a wound with AP -1.
5+ armor save. No, so 2 Skitarii will die. So I'll just take away these 2 on the end.
Yeah, they're just regular galvanic rifles.
It's tempting to kill the Arquebus because he only gets 1 shot, but I'll take the rifles away so far.
In the charge phase, I might as well declare a charge because I'm within range to attempt it, and I actually think the Necrons will probably beat the Skitarii in melee, whereas shooting is a little bit more dicey. So we'll give it a go. I think I need about a 9. Rolling a charge roll, gets an 8. I'm pretty sure that's not in range. So that's it for the Necron turn. Back to the Adeptus Mechanicus turn.
And because my enhanced data tether guy, this guy here is still alive, the Skitarii are leadership 8, so they can't possibly fail their morale test.
That's on the Alpha specifically because he's 7+1. So that's it for the Necron turn. Back to the Adeptus Mechanicus turn.
Yep, straight to shooting, not going to move. The plasma caliber is not going to supercharge, but I'm going to start with a phosphor blast pistol. So it's a blast weapon, so it has D3 shots, but because the Necrons have 6 or more models, I get a minimum of 3, so I'm not going to bother rolling. I get a maximum of 3 shots, which hit on 3s, getting 2 hits. Wound on 3s because it's strength 5, 2 wounds, -1 AP I think.
So 5+ saves, and failed both, so that's 2 dead Necrons so far.
Yeah. And then I'll do the galvanic rifles next. 8 shots hitting on 3s. Get that in the box. 7 hits. And wounding on 4s. Only 2 this time.
2 5+s. Failed both.
So we're up to 4 dead Necrons. I'll do the plasma caliber, getting 2 shots hitting on 3s, 1 hit again. Wounds on 3, that's a dead Necron. So if I can kill 1 more Necron, there won't be any coming back. And then 2 shots from the arc rifle hitting on 3s, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, goes down to 6, 2 wounds, minus 2 AP.
So double 6 to the last one. Oh, he made 1 save, but he's killed. We don't need to shoot the arquebus because that's all 6 Necrons dead, and because they're all dead, they don't get to reanimate. So the result of our first game is a win for the Adeptus Mechanicus Skitarii. We'll set that up again and give the Necrons another attempt. And we set up again, and obviously the Adeptus Mechanicus get the first turn. Would you like to do your free move?
Nope.
So onto their movement, which presumably you're not going to move.
Nope.
And onto the shooting.
So starting the shooting phase off with the galvanic rifles. 6 of them again, so 12 shots hitting on 3s. Getting 10 hits. Wounding on 4s. Getting 4.
For 5+ saves. Made 1, 3 dead so far.
And the plasma caliber, which isn't supercharging, 2 shots hitting on 3s, still can only get 1. Wounds on a 3, it does, so that's 4 dead Necrons. And the arc rifle, 1 shot hitting on a 3, it hits. Wounds on a 3, it does.
6 to save. Nope.
5 dead Necrons. And the arquebus misses.
They're not that useful in this game, so I'm going to take all the Gauss Reapers off the front. 5 reanimations on 5s. Oh, succeeded on 3. And they'll come back like that, and they are within coherency still. And because I only lost 2 after reanimation, I automatically passed my morale test in the morale phase. And then we'll be on to the Necron turn. Moved up normally again, and the 5 Gauss Flayers at the back will get to shoot. 5 shots, hitting on 3s. 5 hits. Wounding on 3s. 4 wounds.
4 5+ saves. Made 2. 2 dead Skitarii. There's these 2 poor fellows on the end again.
But once again, it's not enough to cause them to fail a morale test, so that will be the end of the Necron turn.
And then straight back to the shooting phase for the Skitarii, starting with the rifles again. 8 shots, hitting on 3s, getting 5, wounding on 4s, getting 2.
5+ saves, failed both, 2 dead so far.
Plasma caliber not supercharging, hitting on 3s. Yeah, you got 2 hits at last. Wounding on 3s. Oh, 2 wounds, 2 dead Necrons.
4 dead so far.
And you got an arc rifle shot hitting on a 3 that hits. Wounds on 3, it does not. And the arquebus hits for once. Wounds on a 3.
Yep, strength 7.
Yeah, not a 6, so no mortal wound in addition.
Everyone's 2, so 6 to save. No, so 5 dead. Well, this time I'm going to take away all 5 Gauss Flayers, because any that come back can be in front of the Gauss Reapers and therefore in range to shoot more. 5 reanimations on 5s, rerolling 1s. No 1s and 1 success. And the one coming back will be at the front like that. Still only lost 4 Necrons, which isn't enough to fail a morale test, because 6 + 4 is 10, which is the maximum I can roll. And then we'll be on to the Necron turn. I'm actually going to advance this turn, because if I move normally, the Gauss Reapers won't be able to shoot. If I advance, they can shoot at a penalty, which is better than the 2 shots I would get from the Gauss Flayer. Now, the advance roll is 6. Oh, okay. I didn't move up the full 11 inches, but we got nice and close and get all the Reapers in range. 6 shots hitting on 4s, because they are assault weapons, and I advance. So -1 to hit. Oh, it didn't matter. 5 hits. Wounding on 3s. 4 wounds with an AP -2.
6+ immortal saves. Didn't make any, so it's 4 dead Skitarii. So I think I'm going to kill the arquebus and then the 3 guys on the end.
Leaving the alpha and the useful parts of the...
Yeah, it's the special weapons.
Obviously I can't charge because I advanced, but the Skitarii will have to take a morale test for losing 4 models.
So their leadership 8.
With the data tether.
Yep, so a 5 or a 6 is bad. Oh, they failed. 1 runs away, so I'll take away the data tether because he's going to be irrelevant. And then for the remaining 3 I roll a dice, and then on a 1 or a 2 I get another one running away. Oh, so just 1 left. No, we're going to leave the alpha. He's going to be brave.
Well, that was a rather unexpected outcome, but that's the end of the Necron turn, so the alpha gets to exact revenge.
So the alpha's going to move up, and then he's going to fire his blast pistol at them in the shooting phase. D3 shots for 1. Hits on a 3. It does. Wounds on a 3. It does not. He's going to charge. He's in. He's going to finish his charge like that. Then he has 2 attacks from his arc maul, hitting on 4s. Gets a hit. Wounds on a 3. No, he doesn't.
Well, and the Necron warriors will pile in to trap him in, and then they get to attack. 4 attacks hitting on 3s. Getting 3. And winning on 3s, because he's toughness 3, they all wound.
4+ saves. Made them all.
666, wow. So that's it for them, their turn. On to the Necron turn. Well, I'm not going to fall back, I'll just stay in melee, but that does mean that the alpha gets to hit them back again straight away.
2 attacks hitting on 4s. Gets 1 hit. Wounds on a 3. He doesn't. It's exactly the same as I rolled last time.
And then we get 4 attacks back hitting on 3s. Only 2 hits this time. Wounding on 3s. 2 wounds.
2 4+ saves. Oh, so the alpha goes down.
And that will be a victory for the Necrons in game 2, which was not looking likely at one point, but anyway, there you go. That's what happens sometimes. So it'll have to go to a decider for game 3 to see who wins this episode. Oh, we're set up for the deciding game, and the Adeptus Mechanicus get to go first. And assuming they're not going to move at all.
Nope.
So then we're on to the shooting phase.
And as usual, the plasma caliber is not going to overcharge. So 12 shots with galvanic rifle sitting on 3s. Well, that's 5 hits. And wounding on 4s, 3 wounds.
3 5+ saves. I won't fail all of them.
3 dead Necrons. Plasma caliber, 2 shots hitting on 3s, 2 hits. Wounding on 3s, nothing. Arc rifle hits on a 3, it does. Wounds on 3, it does.
6 to save, nope.
4 dead Necrons. Arquebus hits on a 3, it does. Wounds on a 3, it does not.
So 4 reanimations, but once again I've taken them off the front and we'll just see if we can get people to come back further forward. On 5s, re-rolling 1s. Oh, that's a success, so 2 come back. And the result looks like that, with 2 coming back further forward than they were before. No morale test once again needed, or they automatically pass, so to the Necron turn. Once again, 5 inches further up the board, and then we can shoot with the Gauss flayers. 5 shots hitting on 3s. Getting 5 again. Wounding on 3s. 4.
5+ saves. Oh, made none of them. I'll take the Arquebus away because he's not been very good. And then 3 guys off the back. And we'll have to make a morale test. 5 or 6 is bad. Oh, it's a 6.
So yes,
Guy runs away. We're still above half strength, so only 1s are bad. And we lost another one. So take away another rifle.
So down to 4 Skitarii after all that, but then it is their turn.
We're not going to move, so shooting at the Necron warriors. I'll do the rifle from the tether. 2 shots hitting on 3s, he gets 1. Hits on a 4, wounds on a 4, sorry. Wounds.
5+ save, nope, 1 dead.
Plasma caliber not overcharging. Missed. Arc rifle. Hits. Wounds on a 3, he does.
6 to save. Oh, I did.
And that's it.
Just the 1 dead. I'll take one of the flayers off the back and roll for his reanimation. Oh, he reanimated. So one of the Gauss flayers effectively leapfrogs his friends and ends up about 6 inches further forward to where he was before. And then we're on to the Necron turn. So that's how close we get with a normal move, and then we'll shoot again. The Gauss Reapers are in range. The front flayer is in range to shoot twice, so we'll do the flayers first at 6 shots with the 5 warriors hitting on 3s, getting wounded. And wounding on 3s. 5.
5+ armor saves. Oh, maybe one. There's going to be 1 Skitarii left. 2 Gauss Reapers in front of us and are in range.
Yep, so they get 4 shots at shit on 3s, 3, and wounding on 3s, 2.
6+ armor saves for the survivor. No, that's 1 fail, so they're all dead.
So that actually turns out to be a Necron victory, and they win the best of 3, 2-1. Didn't look like that was going to be the case after the first game, but there we go. There's probably no point letting the Necrons go first, because I think it'll just be a more pronounced result. So we'll finish there, and we'll recap these games for you now. So that was the game for issue 22 of Warhammer 40,000 Imperium magazine. How do you think that went?
I guess I'm not too surprised to have lost, but I think I was probably a bit unlucky with my morale test, certainly. And my Arquebus didn't hit anything ever. The Necrons are 6 power and Skitarii only 4, so I mean, it's not too surprising that the unit that cost more power did better.
During and after the first game, I felt like I was actually at a disadvantage in this game, but I think looking back on it, you've probably just rolled pretty well for your shooting.
I know. I think a couple of times I managed to kill 5 or 6 Necrons in the first turn, but most of them came back, unfortunately. It's just the one that's going to come down to is how all your animations go. I think you actually got most of them in the first game, and it's just that I managed to kill 6 Necrons in one go, and that's all we had left.
Yeah, because if there'd been even 1 left, I could have brought back perhaps a couple. You were unlucky to fail both of your morale tests that you had to take. Not only that, but then also lose models to combat attrition when that happened. Particularly in the second game, you had a squad of 8 models, and it was reduced to 1 by a combination of shooting, unfortunate morale test, and combat attrition rolls.
But I think actually in most cases leadership's not going to be too relevant, because we've got Space Marines, and Ultramarines specifically actually get a bonus to leadership. Maybe we'll get that eventually. So they're actually leadership 9. And they tend to have small unit sizes as well. You can't kill enough of them to cause a morale test without wiping them out. And Space Marines aren't really affected by combat attrition. And Necrons are all leadership 10, so it's basically irrelevant.
Well, even though on a couple of occasions you did kill 5 or 6 models, when some of them get back up again, I was never in a position where I would actually fail one.
Yeah.
Basically, you have to take 5 casualties after reanimation to fail it. And I suppose the morale phase more generally as well does tend to only affect larger squads, because, as we said, with the Space Marines, you don't just have enough models to generally fail a morale test. We pretty much see it that often in games, except possibly where the Skitarii are involved.
And it is worth noting that technically you do always roll for morale tests, even if you automatically succeed. There might be an objective that requires you to, or some factions actually get bonuses if they pass a morale test. So even if you would automatically pass, you should still roll it, because think like Battle Sisters or Chaos Demons get extra benefits if you manage to roll a 1 on your morale test. But I think actually what this game really shows you is how big a deal being strength 4, toughness 4 is, because you can see against Space Marines the Gauss players really aren't that useful, but against Skitarii they're absolutely fine. They're probably better because you need the extra range, because if you had all Gauss Reapers you would have just been getting shot to bits.
Yeah, it was the work of the Gauss players in removing some of your galvanic rifles over the course of the second 2 games that helped me win them, because if you just reduce the number of shots you had, even though your special weapons sound impressive, the galvanic rifles are relatively good, having 2 shots at that range, and so reducing the number of them was actually basically what let me survive. Essentially just enough Necrons have to survive to get within 12 inches, basically to get enough shots, and once that happens, when you actually get to shoot at rangers with their toughness 3 and a 4+ save, they don't last
They're
that
very
long.
fragile. I'm not sure how useful the 3-inch free move of the Rangers is. I guess you can use it to correct their deployment, because I think most of the time you're going to want them to set them up somewhere a long way away with a good sight lines and pick people off at long range, preferably on an objective. So I guess it can help them get a bit closer to an objective you want them to take, and then sit there for the rest of the game, because moving around, they're only going to be hitting on 4s, it's going to reduce their firepower by quite a bit.
And it didn't come up in this game, but technically their move happens before the beginning of the first turn, so it doesn't affect their hit rolls with heavy weapons, because that's only if you move in the turn, but that happens at the beginning of the battle, before the turn begins. And you could see that more clearly if the Necrons had gone first. You would have been able to move before they got to have their turn.
Yeah, it's not really used. I didn't really see any reason to do that here.
Yeah.
I guess in the context of the collection, but I like that the Skitarii are like the extreme opposite to all the Assault Marines and melee-focused Space Marines we've been gotten. They're very fragile but need to be at the back, and they're good at shooting. They're pretty bad in melee. The Arkmaul probably is the one I'd choose to fight Necrons with. I mean, you could give him a power sword instead. That'd be wounding on 4s with no save, whereas this is wounding on 3s with a 6+, but there's the potential for damage against vehicles. But I mean, it's just an amusing stick he gets to hold most of the time.
Yeah, and his pistol not having the range meant that he didn't participate much in this game, apart from his glorious last stand. That didn't actually go very well from him because he didn't...
Yeah, I would actually expect the Necrons to win fairly handily in melee, because the Skitarii are hitting on 4s and wounding on 5s, whereas the Necrons are 3s and 3s with the same save.
And they do tell you to build everything in a certain way and only give you the rules for those weapons, so you can't arm the Alpha with anything else if you're following
I think
we don't know what the extra weapons do.
By default, technically, it comes with a rifle.
It is useful to have one of each of the special weapons, I suppose. They all have slightly different uses. The arc rifle we won't see... I think we do get some Necron vehicles eventually, but...
The arc rifle does D3 damage, so actually against multiple...
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And the plasma caliber is wounding on 2s, I don't think is enough to justify the potential of blowing yourself up. And the 2 damage is wasted against 1 wound Necrons. We do get something that allows you to reroll 1s to hit with the Skitarii, so we didn't really get to see the Arquebus because he was useless, but actually the ability to shoot at characters is kind of useful. The Arquebus is a fairly decent sniper rifle. They are good for shooting at support characters, although Necrons regenerate, so that's a bit of a pain. I do really like the Skitarii models. I think it's actually, after not playing 40k for a while, Skitarii was actually sort of what got me back into it, because I always liked the Admech. But I do like the cool archaic looking Arquebus with the monopod, and I like how some of them have bionic arms and some of them have normal flesh arms. I particularly like how the plasma caliber man has 2 bionic arms, because obviously he's blown himself up a few times, and it's a different aesthetic to the Space Marines, sort of retro futuristic. And it's an actual proper full multi-part kit. It's certainly a lot more complicated than any of the easy to build models you've had so far. It's quite hard to get some of the parts off the sprue without snapping things, which is a shame. They're a lot more complicated to paint than Space Marines as well, because there's things like the Mechanicus symbol, it's very fiddly to get to, and eye lenses, and I guess also I like that they're not completely uniform, because they do encourage you to paint some bits brass and some bits silver, so there's a little bit of uniqueness amongst them. I do like that the collection gives us some of the other Imperium factions, and it's good starting points if you wanted to expand your collection a bit, just for a bit of variety as well.
Well, I think that's it for this video, so if you enjoyed this content, then please leave a like and subscribe. If you played the game, let us know how you get on. Let us know what you think about the Skitarii, or about the direction the collection is going as well, with having multiple Imperial forces. Be interested to hear what you think. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.